What's up, guys? Jay Lee here. Got another little podcast, I guess you could say. Wanted to make this a little educational, but I need to be humble and realize I'm not, the greatest of educators. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything about everything, but I know some things, and I know that we're living in a world that's topsy turvy. I know we're living in a world that's um, pretty sad in a lot of ways. Um, Pretty scary as well, man. We're living in a pretty scary world, but I know that a lot of what's going on from the manosphere perspective, the red pill perspective, uh, the observational perspective. Sometimes I just get sick of it. I just get sick of watching this stuff because it's like it's everywhere. These red pill channels are blowing up, and I'm not saying that I don't appreciate red pill channels. I'm saying that the content is ever flowing, it's ever streaming, meaning our world is just getting worse and worse, and it's sad to watch, man. So I had this little conversation with this guy, and this is an example of a white knight guy. I'm not sure, but I think that white knight guys are actually starting to wake up. I've experienced less and less of them. A couple years ago, they were everywhere. Because I think a lot of white knight guys are just in denial. They're in denial because they think they can go out, and hook up and get girls and have their cake and eat it too. And I think maybe now they're realizing they can't. And women are just getting worse and worse because there's something in female nature that always is reaching for something higher, if that makes sense. Yes, it's hypergamy, but it's like hyperized hypergamy in today's day and age. So like, I don't know how to put it, but it's like, on the one hand you have this fruit that's accessible, on the other hand it's not accessible. It's a weird thing, and it's a goddess status. And I've talked about this millions of times on my channel, but it's this just evil narcissism, and it's always being amplified, always, it seems. But it seems like even now the white knight guys are kind of like, damn, these women really are messed up. These red pill guys are really right, it seems like. But there's always a white knight here or there. So here's one, and here he's blaming porn on men, and this is a trope that I've heard a lot. Porn gets blamed on men because apparently men are the biggest consumers of porn, which totally makes sense, because if women don't consume as much porn because they're out actually making the porn, they're out actually having sex because they have unlimited access to the sexual market. It's just free for them. So men don't have that access, so men are more apt and prone to look at porn. Totally makes sense, right? Just very common sense. So he says porn has ruined an entire generation of men. I counter and say, and the women are just fine. They don't take any accountability, right? And that's kind of a double-sided response, because the women are not fine at all. Like, it's a rhetorical question, obviously, to me and anybody who's in the know, and anybody who's clearly honest and truthful and real and objective about what's really going on in reality, right? The women are not fine. We know that. The women are not fine. And no, they don't take accountability. So my point is, I'm being kind of sarcastic there. They don't take any accountability, right? Meaning, like, to him, he's blaming men. He's saying, oh, porn, because probably in his mind he thinks only a small select, probably even, oh, these girls are damaged, because he believes the narrative. He's a blue pill guy. White knights are usually blue pill guys, either in denial because they want to get sex, or because there's something in them that just, they have this chivalry thing where, like, they feel that they need to protect women and this crap, and really they're just protecting them from the truth. They're protecting them from accountability. They're protecting them from correction, from responsibility, right? From social stigma, all the stuff that would make them change and become better people, they're protecting them from it. And a lot of that is selfishness. A lot of that motivation there is like, oh, maybe I'll get some pussy, maybe I'll get some, girlfriend, yada yada, right? So I understand the mentality of White Knight, guys, so I'm being kind of sarcastic with him, right? And then he says, I don't see women posting racial porn very often, man. So really, I should give a little background. I posted a joke about Riley Reid. There's a picture of Riley Reid with because Riley Reid is this famous porn star who's done all these gangbangs or whatever. And I posted a picture of that, and just not, obviously not like explicit, but like there's pictures going around of her, like she used to do these like gangbangs with black guys. And there's one where it's like, she's clothed, or she's like, I think she's in a bikini or something, and she's surrounded by all these black guys, and they're all laughing, and they're all like having a good time, or just this weird kind of thing. The black guys have got their shirts off. No one's like, no private parts are exposed. But the joke is that like, oh, haha, it's all funny, right? And then she's about to get gangbanged by like 6 black guys or whatever, and it's like, this woman just had a kid. Right, this woman just got married like a year ago. She just had a baby, and she's on like interviews and stuff talking about how like, oh, I regret doing porn. I lost my family over it, and my dad disowned me. My dad won't talk to me. He won't invite me to social gatherings. It's like, you're a pariah. I feel for that. Like, I feel sorry for her in a way. Like, that must suck to lose your family, but it's like, at the same time, like, I don't know, man. You made a choice, and it's like, part of me, wants these women to be forgiven and like be okay, but then there's another part of me that's like, man, you hurt people. Porn hurts people. It breaks up marriages. I don't know, man. It's just a messed up situation, and that's my whole point. And so, like, I posted this picture as a joke, but at the same time, like, in a lot of jokes there's a lot of truth, and there's a lot of like solid like reality that we can learn from. So I didn't post it in like a kind of jeering way where like I want to like hurt anybody, but it's like, haha, let's laugh at the picture, but at the same time, like, whoa, this is messed up. There's girls out here doing this stuff. There's girls out here, you know what I mean? So it's like bringing a little bit of levity as far as humor, but also truth, So he's like, oh, so he's trying to be sarcastic. He counters with this sarcasm, like, I don't see women posting racial porn very often, man. And so I laugh, and I'm like lost. And so what he's really saying is like, hey, women aren't, guys are the ones who are thirsty for women, and guys are the ones who consume porn, and guys are the ones who are like weirdos, and like, it's a common lefty White Knight feminist trope that they're always blaming men, and it's never the woman's fault, right? So then I say lost, and then he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you're lost. You think a generation of men are ruined, but the women are not. And the sad truth here is that yes, there's a whole generation of men that are being ruined by porn. I believe that's true. I really do. I believe that porn is insidious, but there's a reason why guys consume porn. There's a reason why guys are doing that, and it's because they're lonely. Marriage is a wasteland. Love is a fairy tale at this point. You got women out here doing gangbangs and acting like it's normal, and they're doing it for money, and they're doing it for fame, and they're doing it because it's fun, and it's like, what kind of moral decrepity is that? What kind of moral degeneracy is that, where we've got to a point where there's no semblance of any values anymore, and yet men are being blamed, and it's just like, what? The woman has no responsibility. Riley Reid has no accountability for what she did. You know what I mean? And so it's like guys like this that are just like, But here's something that proves my point too, is like, this kind of comment, right? This guy says one college unattended. I think he meant I attended. I'm pretty sure he meant I attended. One college I attended, there were females who left with a body count of 300. This is what women are doing. Out here sleeping around. Here's another picture to prove my point. Realizing I fell in love too young, moved out too young, gave my body away too young, dealt with my worst battles too young, and now I'm a burnt out mom at 24. Look at that. And it's sad. I feel sorry for this person. She's 24 and she looks like she's like 40. Because she's all the crap she's been through. And this is, you know, I remember growing up and like, there's always girls out there who are like, who think they're too cool for school, who think they're like too good for you. And because they're hot and guys want to bang them and guys do bang them. And it's like, that's what happens when you go out and bang guys. That's what happens when she realizing I fell in love. And you got to read between the lines too. She didn't fall in love. She's a single mom. She chased bad boys. She quote unquote fell in love with jerks, with a dickhead, a guy who's a dickhead, and that's what happens. And then she moved in with this guy, and then he cheated on her, whatever. And it's like, I've got an in-law who I've got a brother, just to be straight up and honest. I got a brother who like went out and he was a bad boy. He rode a motorcycle. He had tattoos. He was a fast dude, and women just fell all over him. And he was good looking, better looking than me. And like, just girls fell all over him all his life. And he got a couple girls pregnant and he didn't stick around. And now I'm talking to one of the women that he got pregnant because she is the mother of my nephew. And I love my nephew and I want my nephew to have a good life, but my brother is not in my nephew's life at all. He's never had contact with him. He thinks it's a joke. He thinks like, I shouldn't say he thinks it's a joke, but I don't know if he thinks it's a joke, but he's avoiding contact. And I've confronted him about it, and he doesn't respond. He doesn't, he doesn't take accountability or responsibility. And there's a lot of guys out there like that. But there's a lot of women out there like that too. There's a lot of women out there who are chasing guys like that. And it's a catch-22 because we talk about hypergamy and all this stuff. And it's like, and I think it was David Buss on Lex Friedman, and he was talking about how women have a dualistic mating strategy where they will settle down with a docile, high-earning beta male, and then they'll chase alpha males on the side. Alpha seed, beta need, right? They need the basic necessities from the beta, and then they'll chase the alpha guys. So it's female nature too, and that's something I've never been able to reconcile, and I've talked about that a lot on my channel, how like, why did God make them like that? It's animalistic, but I guess it's about survival, to have the highest quality physical genetics for mating, and then also, you have a long-term strategy of settling down with a docile man who is a high earner. So it's about money and it's about genetics, and this is how women are. But it's like, this is the consequence. This is a lot of times what happens is guys are waking up, and I tell guys that, and other people teach guys that, to don't settle down with a single mom because you're playing yourself short. And it's sad because it's like, I could never advise any man to get with a single mom, because it's like, it's just not right. It's not fair for the man. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, these women need, I don't know if they need, but I should say the children need a father, and it doesn't happen. And so it's like, who's at fault? And I blame the parents, I blame our generation, and to a good extent, I blame the women for not taking accountability. But it's like, are they able to overcome their own nature, to their own hormones, which they want these bad boys and these alpha seeds? I don't know, man. It's like these are questions that how do you answer that? I don't know. It's like maybe home training, maybe they need better, I don't know, but it's like if that's in their nature, it's in their hormones, then I've seen women who have good homes come from good homes. I live near Seattle where it's very affluent, very high class in a lot of areas. I think the median income in Seattle's maybe higher now, but it used to be 75,000 a year, which is pretty darn high. And there's a ton of these girls out here who are lesbians. There's a ton of these girls out here who aren't wholesome. So it's like people need God in their life, and I guess that's the answer. I feel sorry for this woman. Burnout at 24, man. I mean, that is young. 24 is so young, and she's burnt out. She's a single mom, guarantee it. The dad's not in the picture. He might not even ever talk to her, just like my brother doesn't talk to his baby's mom or his baby. And it's like, damn, these people are broken and messed up, and men are being blamed for it. Oh, it's men's fault, right? Well, they had an opportunity. These guys had an opportunity to get sex, and it's like women withhold sex, and it's just this big clustered, just this big messed up scenario. The answer is love. The answer is to get married at the right age, but it doesn't happen. And it's like, and even marriage is, ends in divorce. So I don't know, man. People need God. God is the answer, that's really the answer. God's the answer. But I just see this generation, it's just sad. It really is sad what's going on in this generation. Yeah, it's fun for a while. It's fun while it lasts, but you're gonna end up with an STD. I saw this other post with this girl talking about how she had an STD or something, or she's like, "Oh yeah, I had fun in college, but I got herpes or something like that." And it was one of those interviews with this guy, with these guys who go out on the street and they talk to girls and they interview them. And he was asking this girl, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun in college." And I think he asked her body count, and she's like, "Oh, I think in 3 years my body count went up to 100 or something." And he's like, I can't remember what he said. He said something, and then she's like, "Yeah, but I got herpes." And it's just like, and she looked bad too. Like her skin tone looked off, her energy looked off, and that's what happens when these girls sleep around, because they're not the same as men. Men can sleep around and still be kind of, you would think, but it takes its toll, man. It's like there's energies being transferred in sexual, and I understand, man. Like I get it, like sex is cool. Like it's like, oh man, it's great, right? While it lasts, it's great while you got it, but there's consequences, and it's like you get an STD, you have a kid out of wedlock. Look at this sad woman. She's alone, and she's 24, and she's not even really, 24 is a baby, man. It's not, yes, it's technically an adult, but her whole life is altered, and it's like, she probably wants a man in her life. She probably wants to pursue things in her life, like a career, or maybe not even a career. Maybe she just wants to enjoy life somehow, and yet she's stuck with this kid from a man who doesn't love her, or a man who cheated on her that she could never love anymore, or a broken relationship or whatever. And she loves the kid, but it's like, how many women out here are single moms like this in this situation? It's just sad, dude. It's just so sad. And they want to blame men, and they want to act like men are the problem, but the women are chasing the wrong men. And when they do chase the right men, it's too late. Or they do it in like a gold digging type of way. It's not about love, it's about his money. It's not about starting a family and having this beautiful, loving relationship within the family. It's about her. It's about her selfish needs. It's about what she wants, um, her lifestyle, her future, her. It's not about love or a family. It's about what she wants. It's this selfish, narcissistic kind of thing, and then they slap a label of love on it, and it's like, it's just so sad. I don't know, man. People need God, I need God. You need God. We all need God, because God is like the source, and like the more we get broken away from him, fractured away from him by all these distractions, like the more messed up we get. It's kind of what I've experienced in my life, is like whenever I get distracted, or I'm sinning, or like I'm out here, feeling sorry for myself, or raging against even the environment, it's like I'm not focused on God, and the less I'm focused on God, the more I'm tainted, the more I'm able to be hurt, I guess, in a way, and it's like the closer I get to God, the more whole I am, the more peaceful I feel, the more loving I am, and it's like also being close to God is like, it's a compass. It keeps you knowing the difference between unrighteousness and righteousness. But it's so easy to see the difference, because you just look outside, you just look how messed up it is, and it's constant on social media. Like, it's just a new case every single day, and it makes you just like, dang, I don't want to get into a relationship. I don't want to even try, because of how messed up people are, men and women, guys and girls. This generation is just so lost, and it's like, why? Is it because we don't suffer? Is it because we don't have any hardships, because we got too much time on our hands? Maybe all of that, but also it's because we're going away from God. We're going away from, our culture is becoming more and more detestable because of our degeneracy. So anyway, man, like I said, the answer is God. We all need God. We need to come back to our source, come back to home base, pray, read the Bible, allow Christ to make his home in our heart. What's that? Ephesians chapter 3. Read the Bible, man. The Bible is amazing. Read the Bible. But all right, guys, I just want to make this and just talk a little bit about our culture and just how, kind of sad things have gotten. But when I'm not mad, a lot of times I make these videos and it's like I'm mad, and I'm like, oh, like women did this, and oh yeah, I was hurt by this woman, and da 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 da, and like, these women are so messed up, and that's kind of a lot of the motivation for a lot of my videos. But when I'm not mad and I get close to God, and I'm like, dang, I just feel sorry for these women, and I feel really sorry for the men too, the young men too, because for every one of these women who have gone astray, they're not winning. They might be temporarily winning, and that's the thing. I think God told me, like, I think it was like 10 years ago, he's like, don't envy these people. Don't envy these people. Don't envy these people who like have this enjoyment of sin, And a lot of young women do, because they're like, oh, look at me, I'm pretty, I'm hot, I'm sexy. You guys want to have sex with me, so I have this power. I have this, like, I'm like a celebrity, and I don't even have a talent. I just exist, and I got a nice ass or whatever. It's like, it's crazy. But they're not winning, and they might think they're winning. They might have this, like, confidence about them. They might have this cockiness about them, but they're not winning. Eventually, they're going to lose. Eventually, they're going to end up with an STD. They're going to end up with, being a single mom. They're going to end up in some bad situations. And I've been reading a lot on, like, narcissists, and how, like, narcissists, because I dated a narcissist for 3 years, and she was a covert narcissist, and I didn't find out she was a a narcissist until after we broke up. And it was a very bad breakup. And it was very hard to learn how she was a narcissist because of all the messed up things that happened. But I've been reading about that, about how when they get older, they just kind of break down, and like they don't necessarily change, but their body breaks down, and their mental breaks down. And part of me is like, oh yeah, that's what they deserve, or da 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 da. But like I said, when I get closer to God, I feel sorry for this generation. I feel sorry for them because they could be good mothers, and they could become good wives to the right man, but instead they have these fractured relationships. They have these like, oh, they got to patch together these relationships later on in life because of all the bad choices they made when they were young. And it's really sad, and part of me too is just like, well, I wanted love when I was 18. I wanted to get married when I was 19, 20, 21, 22. I've struggled with lust. I've struggled with, a lot with, wanting to go have sex, wanting to do all these, degenerate things, because we live in a porn culture. We live in a culture where like that's accessible with Tinder and Plenty of Fish and what have you, nightclubs, etc. And it's tempting still, even at my age, it's tempting. And it's like, I get it, I get it. It's not easy, particularly when you're a female and you have all the you're a kid in the candy store. You have unlimited access. Your only problem is picking the right guys, which apparently to women is like, oh, this is this big problem, but really it's not. And deep down they know it's not, and deep down they're like, oh yeah. So part of me, like, when they get washed up, and like, part of me is like, haha, I told you so, because of all the times you hurt me, or all the crap I've been through with women, or this, that, and the third. But also, or I shouldn't say also, but instead of that, what I really should be feeling is just remorse for the whole situation. Remorse for our generation, remorse for our culture, just remorse for the whole damage that all this causes. The damage that is done, particularly the family unit, and particularly to, our culture and our country. Because there's a lot of damage, man, and it's the devil, the devil's behind it all. He wants to ruin families. He wants to mess kids up. He wants pain and suffering for humanity because he hates humankind. Because God created humans with the ability to contain God and contact God, and this is clearly detailed in the Bible. Genesis chapter 2 or 3 or whatever, God put Adam and Eve in front of the tree of life, and he said, eat, and Christ is the tree of life. What does it say in John 6:57? It says, he who eats me, he also shall live because of me, right? John 4:24, he who worships must worship in spirit and truthfulness. God is, John 4:24, God is spirit, and those who worship must worship in spirit and truthfulness. So that's a clear, detailed definition of what God wants. He wants us to eat him and contain him, and Satan can't do that. Satan rebelled against God, right? And so for whatever reason, God didn't deal with Satan at that time. So Satan's our enemy. He's an adversary to God's creation. He's an adversary to God's plan, right? And so what's he doing? He's damaging all these young families, all this young generation of young men and women who could be good parents, who have the ability and capacity to have a loving home. All this is being damaged because of lust, because of the indulgence of lust, and because of hypergamy, because of this animalistic nature that women have and that men play into, because we want women, and I think that's a deviation from our original design which really is to be one man, one in a marriage, the oneness of a marriage, the togetherness of a marriage, the harmony and beauty, almost a symphony of a family, a family unit, which is, a healthy functioning family unit, which is like, gosh, how often do you see that anymore? Pretty rare. I think there's some cultures that really foster it, such as some Asian cultures maybe, that really foster family harmony. But a lot of it, for the most part, particularly in the American culture, is very, very degraded, very, very fractured, damaged. Almost, I would almost use the word shattered in most cases. It seems, at least it's divided, particularly with a selfish generation. We have a selfish generation, a lot of young kids. If Satan can't hurt and damage the family through strife or through drugs or through all these other avenues, then he will at least make them selfish, which can waste time. It's very difficult to have a loving, harmonious family relationship when you're self-seeking and you're selfish. And I've learned that the hard way in my life. I wasted a lot of years being selfish and not spending time with my family. Anyways, guys, this is all what we see, and the answer is to go back to God, go back to the source and find that wholesomeness again, and not end up like this woman, unfortunately, not end up like these young women. And men too, because, I think women are way more promiscuous than men, simply because men don't have access to the same sexual market that women do. And so you've got a lot of lonely guys who are just like, hey, the incel community or whatever, you could call it a community, but it's just men out there just simply not able to have access to it like women are. But in a way, that's a safeguard, because look at what we see with these young women. They're chasing the top 5-10% of guys who are banging all the girls, and it's like, it makes sense that these relationships aren't working. It makes sense that, there's all these single moms out there, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, with my brother, like I've experienced it, it's close to home, it's like, I get why people blame the man, but it's not all men. All men are not like that. It's the top 5-10% of guys who have all the choice of the women. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to be like Leonardo DiCaprio. They're just going to bang women left and right, and that's what they do. And these women, like, it's a pre-selection thing. They don't care about that. Like, oh, I don't care that all the other girls want you. And that actually turns me on more towards you, and that makes me want you more, because I want to get you, and I want you to settle down with me. And it's like, he's not going to, because you're not even that great, probably. But it's sad, man. It's like, but I guess also that's lust, that's the consequences of lust, man. I was reading about King Solomon, and it ruined his kingdom, and David as well. They both of their rulerships in their kingdom was damaged, and even, I would say, lost because of their indulgence in lust. And it's a solid warning, man. But at the same time, we know that women are the ones who have all the access. So it's like, they're the ones a lot of times who are getting the consequences, because men can't even get the consequences because we don't have access to the same things that women do. And so we see it. There's all these shiny examples of these women out here who are just crying and dejected and shattered and broken because they have no restraint. They have no values. Who's raising these women? Who's teaching them to be good quality women? Who's teaching them to be good wives? Who's teaching them to be good mothers and treat men well and have morals? Nobody, it seems. Or people tried and they failed, and they're just being rebellious, which is sad, man. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Appreciate you guys listening. It's been Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.